Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to After the Buzzer. I am your host, Couper Moorhead, and we are talking about the Miami Heat's 125-120 victory over the Indiana Pacers, their second straight home victory, maybe the best two-game shooting stretch in franchise history, which we will talk about in a moment, along with Davion Mitchell's go-ahead three with about 40 seconds to go. We'll talk about the rotation. We'll talk about the offense going forward, how things are setting up. First, a few notes on the game. Miami was incredible from three, but they were also incredible in the upper paint. Part of this was Tyler, who had 29 on 25 shots, but Duncan Robinson had 20 on 10 shots. He had a nice running banker, a little floater down the stretch of the game that was pretty huge and won't get talked about much, but the Heat were 14 of 26 in the upper paint, not even at the rim, and those long floaters, short jumpers, that range. That's kind of where the Heat made their difference. Good night in the standings, though, for Miami. More importantly, Atlanta and Detroit both lost. So Miami moves up to number 7, still 4 games back of Detroit at number 6, still in the play-in, but they're moving in the right direction, and they're still 5 games up on Chicago at number 10. So they're pretty safe as far as a floor, around 10. They're safe. They're not. It's going to be really tough for them to drop out of the play-in, but that number 6 spot, the guaranteed playoff spot, is still within reach, 4 games back of Detroit, with a month plus to go. We'll keep an eye on that throughout. We've got plenty of home games. We'll be talking about it. So let's get to Davion Mitchell. So the play of the game, about 40 seconds left, tie game. Tyler Hero comes off staggered screens up top, gets Tyrese Halliburton one-on-one on the right wing. Now, some teams will play that out, let it go one-on-one. If Tyler gets downhill, they bring help. Tyler hadn't really made a move yet. Now, remember, Davion Mitchell, last game against Atlanta, was 5 of 5 from 3. Pretty good night. But even just before that, a couple games before that against Milwaukee, he had late shots wide open, and he missed them in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes to go against Milwaukee. He does not have the reputation of a knockdown shooter, but he typically hovers around league average. If you take out his first 2 years, he's actually a little bit better than that, a little bit above league average, and he's shooting 46% from 3 with Miami, not even including tonight. Now, Indiana decided to play the reputation and not the latest results, in a sense, right? They're playing, okay, we don't think Davion Mitchell is a knockdown clutch three-point shooter, so just Tyler Hero has Halliburton isolated on the right wing. Andrew Nebhard, who's on Mitchell on the left angle, left slot, decides Halliburton needs some help. They decide not to trust Halliburton in that spot. That could have either been a read from Nebhard and audible. It could have come from the sideline. We don't know there. Either way, Tyler Hero brings 2 to the ball. Mitchell is wide open. Tyler trusts him. Tyler has always been willing to make the trusting plays. He's been doing it even better this year as far as absorbing the pressure and making those passes on time, on target. Mitchell catches the ball. Indiana has other defenders that could close out. They could choose to come over. They're not that far away. They could have closed out on the catch. Nobody does that. They are playing their reputation, not the recent results. Mitchell knocks it down. Miami goes up 3. Come down the other end, get a stop, kill the clock a little bit. Game is effectively over after a couple free throws. So a huge shot from Mitchell after he had just hit a bunch of huge shots down the stretch against Atlanta. And what you watch here from now, is he going to shoot 48% from 3 with Miami the rest of the month? Probably not. That's just how percentages go. But he's probably a better shooter than teams realize based on his last couple years where he's been above league average. So maybe the reputation starts to change over time. Maybe that closeout next time they play a team late in games, maybe they're not letting Davion Mitchell take a wide open 3, and then we'll see how Miami's offense evolves from that. But being respected as a shooter is almost always a good thing, just like Tyler, respected as a shooter and a scorer. He draws 2 there. Drawing 2, we will say it over and over again, the key to effective, consistent, foundational offense over the course of a season is being able to draw 2 of the ball, and make plays off of that. Tyler did it. Mitchell had the shot. It's great. But there are a few rotation changes tonight. Again, Haywood Highsmith hadn't been playing. He's still in the rotation. He and Davion Mitchell up top in that press zone, starting the press up top. drop back into the zone. Those two guys are at the elbow, pressuring the ball, the guards, the shooters. They're kind of filling the role that Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent did a couple years ago, the mainstays at the top of that press zone. You got more Alec Burks minutes because Andrew Wiggins didn't play tonight. Jaime Jaquez Jr. started this game in Wiggins' spot. Jaquez turned his ankle in the third quarter. More Burks. Burks hit some really nice shots. Not only in the second half did he hit nice shots, but he was part of the lineup that gave Bam and Tyler, that bought them time to rest. Miami actually made a little bit of a run with those two guys on the bench early in the fourth, late in the third. So Burks was a big part of that. But key thing here is that Kel'el Ware did not start the second half, even after starting the game. But then he does close. Eric Spoelstra still went back to Kel'el Ware down the stretch, where, to his credit, responded. Spo talked about postgame how he was impressed with the way Ware responded to not starting and then still playing. Ware gave him good minutes. I think that part of the reason that Ware didn't start the second half is that Pascal Siakam and Miles Turner were both shooting incredibly well, and the Pacers play small and fast, and their offense pings the ball around really quickly. So that Spo probably just wanted a little bit more perimeter-oriented defense out there. For right now, probably goes back to the big lineup in the future. It's just a matchup thing where it responded well. Good for him. And we talked about it last time out. That's the reality of this roster. There's a different rotation almost every night. Eric Spoelstra has to make the decisions on the fly in the zone. We can play couch backup quarterback, whatever, couch coaches maybe is the phrase, after the games, and we can analyze the rotation decisions, but it's so different when you're making these live on the fly in the game, especially when you don't know who your 8 or 9 man rotation is every night. You're always figuring out. You're always remaking the puzzle as the game starts around Bam and Tyler. Spo's made a lot of the right calls last couple games. He has said in the past he's not always going to do that, but these are the decisions he has to make. And more importantly, the guys are responding well. Everybody is performing well, whether they're playing 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 25, everything in between. It's not easy not to know how much you're going to play every night, but these guys the last couple games have responded. Speaking of the last couple games, Miami hangs up a 135.9 offensive rating tonight. Really good, but more important. I'm saying more important a lot. First time in franchise history, regular season or playoffs, where they shot 50% from three on at least 30 attempts. So, it's going to take out stuff in the 90s and the early 2000s when they weren't taking 33 threes a game. But again, first 2-game stretch in franchise history, 50% from three or better on at least 30 attempts. They didn't even do that in the 2023 Eastern Conference Finals. They had 3 games like that against Boston, but they never did it in consecutive games. And Indiana was great too. Indiana shot 53.8% from three themselves. Pascal Siakam set a career high, 8 of 11 from three. NBA teams win about 88 to 90% of games where they shoot nearly 54% from three. Miami obviously fell into that 88 to 90%. Indiana fell into that 10 to 12% of teams that lose. That's the kind of game it was. And, in NBA history, all teams, regular season or playoffs, no team has ever done this 3 games in a row. So, that's exciting. Maybe the Heat can do it. Probably not going to happen based on history. History is there to be made at the end of the day, but that's just how percentages work. Bigger thing, one of the toughest things in this league is to disassociate the make or miss part of everything, with the results, the make or miss with the process, with the framework of your offense. Are the Heat a good offense because they've made all these shots 2 games in a row, or were there signs of a good offense on Monday against Atlanta when they had their worst 3-point shooting game of the season? We've hit both sides of the spectrum within 1 week. And here's the thing. We have this tracking data. I won't get too much into it, but we have data called shot quality, expected shooting percentages based on the shots you get. That's what the cameras give us. Miami generally has a low shot quality. That's been the case for 5 or 6 years. A lot of that is because there's so much movement in the offense. Tyler Hero's taking shots off the dribble. Duncan's flying around. It's just tougher shots. They always outshoot their shot quality. Well, Against Atlanta, it was 53.2 expected. Against Atlanta the second time, it was 55.7. Tonight, it was 50.2. So tonight, of these 3 games, was their lowest, by far, 3-point shot quality. And yet they still shot 50%. That's just the league. That's how things go. And shot quality doesn't matter. That's just on paper. What you shoot is what you shoot, and the Heat have been incredible. What matters, though, again, is the process, the framework. Are you getting the right looks? When you're getting good looks and you're not making them, it can be easy to say, well, they should have made them. And when you're making shots, even if they aren't all great, it can be difficult to admit, well, maybe they made some that they didn't make, or they made some that they shouldn't have based on the quality of shot. But here's what Eric Spoelstra had to say about the Heat's weak, that double sides of the spectrum in terms of shooting and their offense going forward.
Hopefully, we want to continue to build on this. The more guys that can feel confident in their role, have clarity in that, and can be live threats out there, the better it is for us. We have a locker room that is unselfish. Guys want to make plays for each other. Even Tyler, he knows, we know, the staff knows, the other team knows. He has to score for us, but he's a willing passer. He'll get off the ball. He wants to set up guys. That's a great thing. And to a man, everybody in the locker room, loves to see their teammate, play well, and they want to try to help their teammate play well. That's a great starting point. And so I think hopefully the clarity, can give guys a little bit more confidence, and then momentum.
So is Miami going to keep shooting like this? No, not going to happen. And that has nothing to do with the talent or the quality of the players. It just doesn't happen because teams don't shoot 50% from 3 over the course of a month. They don't even do it over the course of 3 games. That's the league. That's how percentages work. It'd be really hard to do that with robots too, if assuming they were contested shots. But this team can get hot for a long stretch. They did that in the 11-30 to 30-11 season. That back half of the season, they were almost at 40% from 3 for the entire stretch. Threes did a lot there. They did it in 2022 in December when Bam injured his thumb and was out for a month. Well, that turned into one of the best shooting months in franchise history. They also played a lot of zone. That was a 3-and-Z kind of a month. They kept afloat, and they eventually earned the number 1 seed that year. They also did it, again, as we mentioned, in the 2023 playoffs. Had a great couple of games against Milwaukee, but also had those 3 incredible shooting games against Boston that eventually catapulted Miami to the NBA Finals against Denver. This team can get hot because the framework, the offense, is there. You can't shoot like this if you're constantly taking really tough shots. Despite what their shot quality numbers say, those numbers are not taking into account the quality of shooters that they have, and it's also not taking into account, the changing the rotation. There's a lot of different guys, playing right now. So they can get hot, and getting hot, and it's different from getting lucky. Getting hot, and there is luck that plays into it, and that's just make or miss. But getting hot because you're running the right offense, you can do that. And if you do it for long enough, that can change your entire season. That can be the difference between being in a play-in and making the playoffs. There can be the difference in being in the play-in and being out of the play-in, When people complain about there being too many threes taken in modern NBA basketball, these kind of games are why. I know it's easy to say there's too many threes when you shoot 17%, as they did against Atlanta, but these are the shots you get in today's NBA. This is modern NBA basketball, and you have to take the threes. Defenses are too good. They are not going to let you just charge headlong into the paint over and over and over and over again and do that. Of course, you have to be efficient from 2. Again, they shot well in the upper paint, but the threes are going to be there. You have to take them. Miami has always been more than willing to. They set up a lot of driving kick. They get good threes. Made them tonight. Great 2-game stretch. Maybe setting the foundation for a nice hot stretch going forward. Vibes are good. Wins help with that. We've seen this team, we've seen this franchise kind of coalesce. We've seen rotations come together, teams come together and go on good runs down the stretch. We'll see if they can do it from here. That's all for today. I'm Couper Moorhead, your host. Thank you for joining us for After the Buzzer, and I will see you very soon. And I'll see you next time. Take care.